Hey folks, Houston here. We just wanted to let you guys know that upon editing, we ran into some issues that we were unaware of. Parts of this audio file were completely unusable, as well as we ran into some background noises that we haven't had during other recordings, whether that be sounds the house was making, Kaylen's dog, or even my breathing sitting on the background track. Just know that we are working the best that we can to make sure that this is not an issue in future episodes, and that we want to give you guys the best quality content and the best quality audio that we possibly can. So thank you for all of your support, and thank you for bearing with us. It means a lot. We hope you enjoyed the episode. See you soon.
Hey folks, how the hell are ya? I'm Kaylen.
And I'm Houston, and you're listening to Crime or Reason.
Hey Houston.
Hey, how are
you doing today?
I am living, I am laughing, and sometimes I am loving.
That's just great. Are you feeling a little spooky today?
I'm always feeling spooky. I think that my personality trait is spooky. So,
Personality trait.
I don't have much personality, but the personality I do have is spooky.
Yes. Wow.
Breaking everything. We're
So-
getting in the swing of things. I feel like we are figuring out really just how to kind of go along with this podcast.
How to do the dang thing.
Yeah, we're getting the episodes together. We know what we're doing. We're getting comfortable. You know, we have our little setup here. We figured out how to keep the echoing from happening and
Doing our best on this research.
right, without keeping our mouse right up to the microphone. The research has been intense lately.
Yeah, it has.
Some of these, we have an episode that is coming up that I've been researching.
Very dark.
I was doing the research last night in my bed, and then I got to a part of the research that required me to read something extra spooky, and I was just kind of like, I
don't know how to think anymore.
right.
I'm lost.
I just got a little bit crazy. So yeah, we've got some dark cases coming up for you. We've got some fun videos, or not videos.
My case is pretty rough today.
Right. Kaylen, what kind of story are you telling us today? Give me a little feedback.
Telling some not so fun story today.
Okay. I don't like to have fun, so.
It is called the skin suit case. Imagine, right?
Okay, imagination.
We are getting into it.
Okay.
So, on the date, January 6th, 1999, a captain of his tugboat and his crew were out on the Vistula River near Dobie Barrage in Krakow, Poland.
Where do you like to vacation in the summer? I love to vacation in Dobie Barrage.
Dobie Barrage.
It's fun.
So, we are in Krakow, Poland. On the tugboat, their propeller got jammed.
Oh, already hate this.
Jammed up by something. We don't know what yet.
We're about to find out.
So, in some sources, it says that they may have slept through the night because they were just rolling down the river, right? But they may have also just went automatically to investigate as soon as the propeller got locked up. So, when they opened this latch, a strong putrid smell overpowered them.
Was it a smell of decomposition?
They thought that maybe it was some kind of fabric that had just been, floating down the river. It was just nasty. No, it was a pale rubber or leather-like substance that had just tangled up in the boat's propeller.
No, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. When they pulled this fabric-like substance out of the river and off of the propeller, they made a much more grim discovery. Because on the top corner of this piece of fabric, quote-unquote, was a human ear that they could make out. So, they realized that this substance was the remains of a human being. And initially, it was assumed that it was like a corpse that was destroyed by a ship and maybe believed to have been someone who was like suicidal and had jumped into the river. But as they continued to look over it, they realized that the torso, like the skin was like that of a torso, and it had been deliberately removed from the body after the limbs and head had been cut off. We'll talk more about that later. The name that I'm about to say was a lovely young lady. Her name was Katarzyna Zawada. In some sources, they say her nickname was Kasia. 23-year-old student in Krakow, like I said, they're in Krakow, Poland. She was going to Jagiellonian University, first studying psychology. She did not finish it. She switched to history. She also gave that up, and she finally settled on religious studies.
Sounds like me. I definitely changed my major 3 times before I
also
dropped out
changed.
of college.
Yeah, and I also dropped out of college. In some sources I found, they said that she loved the hippie lifestyle and that she absolutely adored music and she loved to go mountain climbing. However, her friends said that she was very shy and withdrawn and she could be very secretive too. So she's got kind of a mixture of a personality. She's a fun, hippie kind of girl. Things for her got even worse after 1996 when her father, her and her father really loved to go out like mountain climbing. They were out mountain climbing one day and he fell and hurt himself and ended up paralyzed. He got an infection and then he passed away. And so afterwards she blamed herself for it and she reclused herself even more. Because of her father's death, among many other things that were going on in her life, Katarzyna was due to meet her mom on the morning of November 12th, 1998 at a psychology clinic. So she was getting some help. She was going to, she was getting help to cope with how, everything happened.
Always get help.
Always get help. However, Katarzyna never showed up to this appointment. Her mom started becoming more and more worried when she contacted her friends, but she basically got no answers. Nobody said that they had seen her. And of course, when she finally called the police, because she's not a minor, they weren't that concerned because
she could have just gone everywhere.
She could have just gone somewhere
that
and not
is,
told her mom.
That is one of the things that I hate the most about our system. It's like we could sit here and we could sit here and know that this is outside of somebody's behavior. We have to stop pushing cases or pushing missing persons to the side just because we're based on an age, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
That doesn't matter. If I know that somebody has contacted me every single day for the past 5 years and then one day they didn't and I can't get a hold of them or I can't find them or whatever the case may be, they didn't show up somewhere, it's out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm. In order to get the ball rolling on her case, her mom hired a PI to take a look into it. In the course of this investigation, over the entire time that Katarzyna was missing, her mom got prank called a couple of times, which is awful. And
I hate that. I see that a lot and I just hate it.
It's awful. And it was also found that Katarzyna had been skipping her classes for around 3 weeks before she disappeared. And she had also dyed her hair blonde and she had lost some weight. So we got some changes going on with her personality, a little bit of, mixing it up. Things were getting weird. I'm going to do a little roundabout back to the body that was found in Vistula River. Polish law enforcement, along with the Portuguese and American 3D analysis team and the DNA experts, found that the skin was that of Katarzyna Zawada. So her mother got a knock on her door less than 2 months after she had gone missing, saying that her daughter had been found murdered. Also, a little side note, this was the first time DNA was used to ID a body in Poland.
I just kicked the fuck out of Kaylen's foot under this table.
I made okay. Upon further investigation after finding the skin, they continued down the river, of course, searching for the rest of her. They found Katarzyna's leg and part of her buttocks, along with some tattered pieces of her clothing, but they never did find her head nor the rest of her limbs. And it was presumed that she had been in the water around 2 to 3 weeks at this point.
So, when they found the skin suit, does it say, did they find the skin suit and just not, the bone and the muscle behind it, or they just, didn't find the head at all?
They didn't ever find the head at all.
So, the skin and all?
They only found that skin, like basically just the skin. It was like she had been flayed. Like her skin was completely peeled off of
Right,
her.
but was it like the skin of like her whole body or just the skin of like her torso?
Of her.
Because like you said, the ear was found, so like maybe up the
So
neck a little
think
bit.
of like a ballerina's leotard.
Okay.
And then add up to the top of your shoulder up to your, like, one ear.
That's really weird.
Yeah, so I'll explain a little bit more. But they did not find any more of her limbs. They did not find her head. I don't think they found any other bones whatsoever of any other part
like
of her body.
they just found this bit of skin from like the bottom to the top of the torso.
And then a little further down the river, they found her leg and her buttocks.
Okay.
So.
Was the part of her leg and her buttocks like the muscle and everything, or just the skin?
I'm not sure on that one. I don't think it was just skin on that one. I think that it was the full leg. This is going to be a bit of a trigger. It's very brutal. If you'd like to skip ahead, you can. Katarzyna had been brutally beaten. Some sources say she had stab wounds, chop wounds, and lacerations to her neck, armpits, and groin. So they believe that she was drugged and her right ankle had been strapped to something between December 7th and 14th. Now, remember, she had gone missing on November 12th.
Okay.
Now, in this time...
Wait, she had gone missing...
On November 12th.
And they thought she was strapped to when?
Between December 7th and 14th. I'll explain a little bit more here.
So like a month later?
A month later.
So they think she was alive for that month?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's brutal. So now, in this time... I can't tell you the timeline of all of it that happened because it's a little up in the air, but what they found was her organs had been ripped out, possibly while she was still alive. This person broke her femur and her pelvis by punching her with a barbell and a body plate. They said she had been choked with a chain, but they believe her official formal cause of death was from blood loss. They believe that she was most likely skinned alive.
I think that if I were to be like held captive and then like tortured, I think that that's probably the thing that I'm scared the most of, is like that happening, because that's just so gruesome.
And it's brutal. That's a full, like you were saying, a full month where we have no idea what she was going through.
Right.
On the skin suit that this killer had made, it was cut, like I said, and they had cut diagonally down across her chest, and it was like most of her torso, again, basically like a ballerina's leotard. Like it came up over her legs. The suspect had cut and sewn pieces back together, which oddly the nipples were also missing. That was kind of a weird situation. What was presumed was that this suit was actually designed to be able to be worn by the killer. This is why he had cut and sewn and done all of this stuff.
That makes me
I know,
ill.
it makes
that
me
makes me...
So now I'm going to talk about the profile of what the FBI, like who the FBI thought this killer was. They presumed it was a male who had an impaired sexual preference. He had a strong desire to become a woman, to a sadistic, psychopathic point. They believe he was very sadistic and he had a narcissistic personality. They believe that the killer had stalked Katarzyna and may have even specifically chosen her based on her height and her stature, knowing his exact intent was to fit into her skin. Yeah. They found that in those 3 weeks that Katarzyna had been basically skipping those classes, that she had been in the market square in Krakow's old town. And she was like checking out bookstores and music stores, and it's believed that this may be where she met her killer. That's kind of filling in that timeline a little bit. They think that he stalked her, that he was, he knew exactly what he was doing.
Right.
So, now, they also believe the killer knew martial arts because there was a specific injury to Katarzyna that entertained that a specific move only known to those who study martial arts could perform. And they also believe, like I said earlier, that this could have been based off the movie Silence of the Lambs, the Buffalo Bill character, which had only come out 7 years before the murder. Or it could also have been inspired by a recent article that was made in a magazine or newspaper, something like that, about Saint Bartholomew, who was an apostle who was skinned, and there are like paintings of him like holding up his own skin. So there's different theories on how this all came to be.
Right.
So, but mostly it's basically the person who did this was wanting to be a woman and wanted to fully become that entire person. So now they're starting to take a look at who really did it. Now that they've got a profile together, we're looking at, what possibilities and different, kind of, things going on.
Right.
There were a couple of cases that were kind of related because of the skin. So there was a person named Vladimir W., who was also a student at the university, and he was looked at because he got mad at his father one night because he had left his mother, and he killed his father. He then peeled off his face and wore it and danced around and even tricked his grandfather into thinking that he was his dad.
Jesus. How do you even begin to do that?
Yeah. So the grandfather came to the police and reported it because he had heard about the case, and he believed that Vladimir could have done it, but it was determined that Vladimir had only killed his father out of rage, and Katarzyna's case was obviously someone's underlying wishes to become a woman. Finally, a breakthrough happened. Now, the case was closed for a few years because it had gone cold and the police were failing to find any kind of connections. Finally, though, a breakthrough happened in 2012, and they reopened the investigation. So some plant spores had been found on Katarzyna's clothing that did not grow in the area of the Vistula River. So they were doing the test still after it was closed, but finally found something that they could actually put some kind of reliance on. Now, these plant spores were specific to a certain area in Krakow, so this narrowed down the investigation significantly. Things about this case are a little under the radar. They haven't really posted a whole lot because the entire trial has not been released at all. They have closed it. He's been found, but they've closed it. We've gotten the investigation narrowed down to a specific area where they found Robert Chinsuski. He was previously looked at back in 1999, 2000s when the case was open, but there was never enough evidence to make an arrest. So a little more about Robert now. Robert was known to have been a victim of abuse at his father's hands. He had himself abused cats and dogs. He was considered a weirdo and a freak by the people who were near him. He was known to harass women, wear women's clothes, spy on neighbors, and he described the murder in a diary that he kept. I don't know if they found it afterward. Again, the investigation is the entire case has been kept under wraps. Now, Robert had been fired from the Krakow Institute of Zoology after it was found that all of the rabbits that he was supposed to be caring for were killed. This institute was also where he was presumed to have learned how to peel the skin off of a mammal. Now, he was caught in 2017. He was 52 years old. They believe his intentions with the skin suit was that he wanted so badly to be a female that he left the side of that suit open so that, like I said, he could slide into it, fully wear it, and become a girl. I'm not digging it.
I'm not loving it, yeah.
Right. The reason that they were able to convict Robert on this is because they found bloodstains on his mirror that matched up with Katarzyna. And one of his close friends had also wrote a letter into the police in which the contents of this letter have never been released. So they could still release all of this trial. We could still find out more information, but they just have kept everything close and not
close to the chest.
Close. The entire trial was closed, and they never really released the details. However, poor old Robert made the news again in 2018 because he complained that the guards were bullying him and treating him unfairly.
Yeah, well, Robert, fuck you.
Yeah. So, these accusations had no grounds, and they are also being added to the list of things that he will be tried for.
Yes.
So technically the case is solved for the most part. At least they have someone behind bars for it. We've got a little bit of justice going on. We just don't know too much about it just yet.
Right.
So could be released someday. So that was my wild, intense, and crazy case that wasn't solved for almost 20 full years.
But we did get some sort of resolution.
We did. Some slight sort of resolution.
I'm not living for the skin suit.
Yeah, it's intense. That was a lot.
Yeah. You know, though, one of these days we're going to come out with a case that ends happy.
One day.
One of these days.
It's not today.
Yeah. Everybody tell her she was great.
It was hard to find stuff because again they've kept it all closed.
Right.
So it's hard to find those chunks of time that are missing.
And there's probably stuff that we're not
missing.
able to access because it's not in our country.
Right, and that was the other reason is because a lot of stuff is in
Poland.
Poland.
Right.
So and they have to be translated, and I'll tell you right now it was hard to figure out
I
translations
guarantee it.
there. So
Well, guys, thank you for coming, per usual. We love having
hanging
you
out
here.
with us. You can give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
YouTube.
the TikTok.
The TikTok, we got all of them. And that is at Crime or Reason. Stay up to date with us. We have lots going on. We've got 2 episodes a week. So, I mean, plus we've already talked about some bonus content that's coming out. Like, we've already got 1 bonus episode out. There's going to be more. So, yeah. Make sure you let us know how good we're doing or let us know how bad we're doing so we can fix it. So...
And we hope that you stay safe.
We hope that you stay healthy.
We hope that you stay
Criminal. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.